Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Creative Breakthrough. I am your host, Shereen Kassam, aka The Funny Brown Girl. Hey, we're still in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you guys are all well. I hope you're all staying well, staying mentally well, staying physically well, and just taking care of yourselves during this time. Today I want to talk to you about rejection and then how that can turn into resentment. But before I get into that, just some quick updates, what's going on in my life. I am still on furlough from Disney World. I think I'm now coming into week 4 of my furlough, and it's funny how fast time is flying, but it's also funny how different I feel. Like, I definitely feel more relaxed. I mean, in the middle of a pandemic, it's weird to be saying that I feel relaxed, but it's like the stress of focusing on me and focusing on my creative outlets and focusing on just things that make me happy has just been so exciting, and it's just filling me with joy. And it's just been such a different way of living life, because I've never gotten this chance to do that, right? I've always been working all my life since I was 16 years old. I never really had time to just stop, except there was a bit of time when I was unemployed, but I hadn't really gotten into that creative mindset yet. Like, I was just dabbling in creativity at that point. So this has just been super exciting, and it's sad and funny how fast time has flown by. Like, I remember when I would go to work, I'd be like, I can't wait till it's Friday. I can't wait till it's Friday. I can't wait till it's Friday. And now every day it's like I'm just working. And it's so hard because I'm not waiting for Friday anymore. Like, I know what that feels like, not to wait for Friday. But it has also been hard because I don't shut off. I don't turn off. Like, when I worked, I would turn on my brain, sort of say at like 9 a.m. And I lie because I don't go to work till 10. So like 10 a.m. And then I would shut it off at 5:30, right? And then I would turn on my creative brain. But now my brain is just on all the time, like coming up with idea. But there is a meme, I was getting to it. There was a meme that I saw, and it had 2 people on it. One was really just, it said midnight behind them and they were working away. And then one said midnight behind them and they were sleeping. And it said, what is productivity to you? Or what is self-care to you? And it was really important for me to see that, because I'm working for myself right now and I want to get all this stuff done. I have to learn I have to learn to turn off. Like, I have to learn to put boundaries on my time and say, Shereen, you have to sleep at this time, and you have to take care of yourself and go work out, and you have to start putting these boundaries. Because like, I've noticed I haven't been going to bed till like 1 or 2 in the morning, because that's when I'm hitting like my streak where I'm like, oh my God, it's midnight and I just had this great idea, and I turn on the lights and I start writing, and it's fine. It's fine. But at some point I also have to learn to just shut off and like make notes and say to myself, like, you need to get your sleep. You need your 8 or 9 hours of sleep. The second thing is, I just finished my 4-week course with Seth Barish, who is the director of the one-person shows that Mike Birbiglia puts on, and that was super exciting. That was an awesome 4-week course. It really got me to understand like how to put together a one-person show, and I have like 20 minutes written now, and so it's just staying on top of that to get that hour out. And I'll keep you guys posted on that, because I do want to do kind of like reads, like Zoom reads, where I want to invite people just to listen to it and tell me their feedback before I actually take it out and like put on a real show. And that's my goal. Like, my May 2021, I want to have this one-person show done, and I want to be performing it in a theater. And so that is my 1-year goal. And I'm super excited about that. I really hope that now that I don't have a class and someone really to be pushing me, I'll still keep doing it. I'm lucky that the people I was in the class with, we've agreed to be in a writer's group together. So we're going to keep meeting bi-weekly to keep each other on track with deadlines and stuff. And then I just started a class this past weekend. It's a free class on Coursera.org. It's called Storytelling. And that has been super interesting too. And it's so funny because like, I storytell, right? I'm a comedian, and I've taken classes on writing and creative writing and how to be a comic, but I've never actually taken a class just on storytelling. And so they go into the whole art of storytelling, and they provide all these resources, and they have these people talking to us who are in the storytelling industry. And it's just so interesting to think about like how people put an idea together and how people formulate a storyline, and that in itself has just been so interesting. It is a very heavy loaded class. I mean, I'm only on week 1, and that's taken me 3 days to do, and I haven't finished the assignment yet. So there's homework to do in it, but it's super cool. And I've dropped the link on the Facebook group, so definitely check out the Facebook group. And I'm also going to drop some of the resources. So if you don't want to take the class, I'm going to drop the blog posts and the videos and stuff that they share, because I think some of these websites that they are sharing are amazing. And it's like, how did I not know these websites existed? Just to help create ideas and flesh out ideas. So if you're not part of the Facebook group, it's funnybrown.com/Facebook, or you can go to Facebook and type in Creative Breakthrough Community and it should pop up. If you have any trouble, send me an email at hi@funnybrownGirl.com. So that's what I've been up to. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of you who've reached out to check on me now that I'm on furlough. I know it can be a scary time, so I thank you guys for checking in on me, and that also those of you who have donated to my fundraiser to help me pay for my podcasting equipment, which has been a little bit more difficult now that there's no income coming in. So I thank you guys for that. If you do want to make a donation, if you are still on lockdown and can't go buy your Starbucks coffee or your bagel in the morning and you have a few dollars to donate, I would love it. It's ko-fi.com/funnybrown and that's KOI-fi.com/funnybrown. I also dropped the link on my Instagram profile, so feel free to follow me on Instagram at funnybrownGirl.com. Okay, so like I said, today I want to talk about rejection. And today I'm going to replay snippets of an episode I did with Tina Mabry, who is a writer, director, and producer on the hit show Queen Sugar, as well as she's worked on other hit shows like Insecure and Posse, and just a lot of other things. And she was actually the first podcast interview that I launched on this podcast. Like she's like OG, she's like old school in the sense like she was episode 1, y'all. Like we're going back because that episode was just so amazing because she touches on a lot of things. It's an hour-long episode, so definitely I would highly recommend listening to the whole hour. But for today's episode, I've cut and pasted a storyline around rejection because she really talks about rejection. And I want to talk about rejection because I have seen this happen to people. And Felicia Pride, 2 weeks ago on the episode that we dropped 2 weeks ago on the Creative Breakthrough podcast, talks about a positive mindset. And she says that she has seen people not be successful in their creative endeavors, in their creative journey, because they didn't have a positive mindset. And a lot of that positive mindset can be ruined by how you interpret rejection. And I saw this meme and it says, "You don't fear rejection. You fear interpreting rejection as if something is wrong with you." And that was so powerful because some people can see rejection as, okay, that was just a no. That's just going to make me work harder next time. Or some people will see a rejection as like, I'm not good enough. Like there's something wrong with me. I can't do this. I just give up, and they just give up. And I'm here to tell you that as a creative, I have been rejected so many times. I mean, not even in my creative world, I've been rejected in the real world so many times. And I can sit here and tell you right now that if I had quit, I would not be making this podcast right now. I would not be taking a one-person show class. I would not be striving to have goals for next year. Like I have dealt with even just in 2020, I have dealt with so much rejection, right? And if you've been listening to the past episodes, you know what I'm talking about. I could just give up, but I'm not going to give up because I also believe that everything happens for a reason. And Tina Mabry talks about that in detail in today's episode as well. Everything happens for a reason. When things are right for you, things will start to happen, but you've got to put in the work. And I think being a creative comes down to four major buckets. One is talent. And I don't remember if it was Felicia Pride who said that, but in one of the episodes that we've recently put out, they talk about it. I think it was Laura Diaz. Laura Diaz in episode 6 says, it comes down to talent. You have to have talent, right? And then you have to work on that talent. You have to put in the work. You can't just rely on that talent. You have to go and keep toning that muscle. You keep flexing that muscle, right? I always end this episode saying, now go out there and flex your creative muscle. Like it's a muscle that you have to work out. You can't just let it be lazy. And third, it's all about your network. It's about who you know, right? A lot of times it comes down to who do you know? Who in your space have you interacted with? Who have you networked with? Like a lot of times people ask me for recommendations for things. Like they'll be like, I'm looking for someone for this part in my short film, or I'm looking for somebody who can, I need somebody to go send to an audition. Do you know anybody who fits this person? And so it's like who you know. And then the fourth thing I would say is that it's being patient with yourself and staying positive and taking care of yourself. It's all about you in your fourth step. It's like, how do you stay in that right mindset, right? Um, and I'm going to give you some examples. So, like when I talk about flexing that creative muscle, right? Last year, I was a finalist in Florida's Funniest Comedian competition, and I was super excited. And I didn't do really well in the finals. I killed it in the first round, and the quarterfinals, and the semifinals, and then I got to the finals. And I know why. I know it's because I hadn't really been putting in the work into comedy last year. Like I wasn't going out to shows and open mics, and I wasn't really investing time. And had I been going out every day and working on my set, I would have known how to handle the situation that I was put in the night of the finals. And I can make all these excuses why I didn't win, but there was a lot of obstacles that night. Like I was the last person to go up. I followed a guy who made animal sounds. I was dealing with an audience that wasn't very progressive, like not a very liberal audience. And if you listen to this podcast again, you know I struggle with non-liberal audiences, especially people who don't like people that look like me or who are Muslim or have an Arab name. And so there was just a lot of things thrown at me. And because I was out of practice, I hadn't flexed that creative muscle. I can't blame anybody for how I performed that night except for myself, right? So me losing that competition wasn't that there was something wrong with me. It was more that I hadn't taken the time or the initiative to work on my craft. Again, another example is in 2019, I didn't book a single commercial audition. I actually wasn't even getting sent out on enough auditions. And again, that was my fault because my agent kept asking for new headshots. She kept asking, "Are you taking any classes?" She kept asking, like, "What are you doing to improve your craft?" And honestly, last year I didn't do anything. I didn't take a class. I didn't go and get new headshots. I wasn't working on my craft. And so when Susan or Jackie or Jessica, and those are all hypothetically fake names, got the role, I can't blame them. I can't say, "Well, that's not fair. They must be better than me." I can't blame anybody but myself. I can't compare myself to other people because I don't know what they're doing, right? I don't know how many classes they went and took. I don't know how many auditions they went out on. I don't know how many headshots they went and took. So I cannot compare myself. And I say all this because I've been doing a lot more creative coaching lately. Now that I've been furloughed, a lot of people have been reaching out to me and I've been doing some creative coaching. And I have this one client and he said it was totally okay to talk about him right now, who falls into this trap of comparing himself to other people, especially on social media. Like he'll see his friends from acting classes who got auditions he didn't get, or got auditions that he got but landed the part, and he starts to doubt himself, and that doubt turns into a negative mindset because now he's like, all he can think about is, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I get that role? And that negative mindset actually comes out like when you're doing a audition. Like it's like a job interview. That negative mindset can really come out of you, and you might think that that's weird, like how is that possible? But once you start watching audition tapes, you'll see like that person doesn't have the same confidence as other people. That person isn't delivering the lines with that same passion and confidence that you see other people doing it with, because they're so in their head at that point. They're already thinking that they're not going to get that role, right? And so they're not going to get it. And so we've been talking a lot about that, me and him. And I'll be super honest with you. There are people on social media that at certain times I've been envious of, and certain times I've been jealous of. And you know what? Like, it's a characteristic trait that we all deal with, right? It's an unhealthy one, but we all have it at a certain point. And I will unfollow them. I won't unfriend them, but you on Facebook and on Instagram, you can unfollow people or you can mute people. And I've done that because I don't need that in my life, because I don't want to feel that way, because me feeling that way doesn't do anything for me creatively, right? It doesn't bring me forward. It doesn't move me forward. And so the more I was talking with this guy who's my client now, it turns out like he's also jealous of like people close to him in his life. He's jealous of his friends, and that jealousy has turned into resentment, where he actually hates some of his friends because he's watching them be so successful in life, and he's wondering, how are they so successful in life and he's not successful in life? And so we've really been tearing apart his story and in what's happening in his life. And it turns out like last year he didn't get as many auditions as he wanted, but he didn't push forward his creative abilities as much because he was in school last year. He was finishing up his degree. And so that's where his mindset was last year. His mindset and his focus was on school and graduating, right? And sometimes it's really hard when you've got such a big, important task in front of you to kind of be creative at the same time. And it's totally true. And I've talked about this in previous episodes. In 2018, I was in Lisbon, Portugal, and I was having the creative time of my life. Like, if somebody asked me what was one of the best highlight and moments of your creative career, I would say Lisbon, Portugal, 2018. And then I flew back to the United States. I stepped off the plane and I went straight to work, and I found out I had a new manager at work, and she was the worst thing that could have happened to me, right? She totally destroyed my self-confidence in myself. And I was so focused then on work, and I was so focused on everything she was saying to me, that my mindset was totally messed up. But second of all, at that point, I was so focused on finding a new job and getting out of that environment that I didn't have time to be a creative. I didn't have the mental strength to be a creative. I didn't even have the mental ability to be creative. Like, I wasn't coming up with any creative ideas. I didn't want to be on stage. I just wanted to find a new job, and that's where all my energy went to. So for this guy, all his energy went to school and passing school. And so he can't blame himself that he wasn't getting any auditions. But then as we started to dig more into it, I realized he was getting these auditions, but he wasn't getting the role because his mindset was already full of so much resentment towards everybody else who was living their dreams. And so because that resentment was building up inside of him, that negativity, those negative thoughts, that negative mindset, there's just no way at that point that you can get an audition. I mean, and not get an audition, but that you can land the gig. There's just no way with all that stuff holding you down on your shoulders. There's just no way you're going to put out your best performance. And so it's really important as I'm working with him, is like figuring out, why do you have all that resentment for people? Why do you have all that fear, like that people are doing better than you? Because here's the thing, right? You don't know where people are on their creative journeys. So like, you can't compare yourself to somebody else because you don't know. All you know about their creative journey is maybe what you see on social media, right? But you have to sometimes take a step back and think, okay, how long ago did this person start their creative journey? What have they been putting into their creative journey, right? What energy have they been putting into it? What classes are they taking? How often do they spend time on their creative journey? Do they write every day? Are they always flexing or working out that creative muscle? There's just so many different criteria that it's just, you can't compare yourself to other people. And so what I want you to walk away with today is like, you're on your own journey, right? You are you, and you are your own journey. And when things are meant to happen for you, they will happen for you. But you also have to put in the work. You can't just sit back and think things are going to happen for you. Things just don't happen for me. They really don't. Lately, I've been applying to so many different things, writing competitions, podcast competitions, and I'm not getting them. I haven't won a single thing in a long time. And I think back on it and I'm like, why am I not doing it? And it's not because my work sucks. It's not that my writing sucks. It's not that my idea sucks. It's just that somebody else has been working on it more. Somebody else has been working on it harder. Somebody else has been putting more time into it. And it's their time to shine. And I have to be happy for that person and just say to myself, like, you keep working on your idea. You keep fleshing it out. You take that rejection as motivation to make it better and to keep trying harder. And one day you're going to win, and somebody's going to ask you, how did you get there? How did you win that? How did you do that? And I'm going to say, it was all those rejections that made me work harder and get here. And so I leave you with that. Like, if you feel that you are starting to resent people and you're hating people, take a step back and look inside of you and say, why is that? And is it truthful to you to hate that person or resent that person? And then look at your mindset. Do you have a positive mindset, or do you have a negative mindset? And figure out again, why is it a negative mindset, and how do you flip it to be a positive mindset? And then once you start to align all that stuff, once you start to figure out how to stay positive and optimistic, I guarantee you things are going to start looking more positive for you. You're going to start seeing more opportunities just land at your doorstep. I also want to give you one more example before I wrap this session up. The client said to me, he said, I've been following your journey, and last year in 2019, you booked 3 amazing roles. You did a short film, you did a web series, and you did a feature film. And he's like, you sit here and you tell me you didn't put in any effort and that you didn't do any auditions and you weren't focused on acting. Then how did you get those roles? Like, you're obviously lying to me. And I was like, honestly, those 3 roles, the 3 roles I had in all of 2019, I got because of my network. I got because of the people I knew. People who I had taken an acting class with or that I had met at a comedy show called me up and they were like, you're the right person for this role. Will you do it? And I didn't audition for any of those roles. I didn't reach out about any of those roles. Those roles came to me. And so, like I said in the beginning, it's super important to cultivate relationships, to network, to join communities. So, for example, I have this Facebook group. It's a community of creatives. Join that group, meet people, work your stuff out with people, because you never know who's going to recommend you, who's going to need somebody who looks like you or who has your background, who has your experience. So, with that, I'm also going to leave you with one more thing. If you need to talk to someone, reach out to your friends, reach out to your family, get a creative coach. I'm here for you. And like I said, like I've talked about many times, talk to a therapist. If you feel like you've got so many negative thoughts inside of you and you're so fearful of rejection and you have so much hate for people or resentment for people's successes and you can't figure out why are you so envious and so jealous and why can't you stop comparing yourself to other people? It's a lot of stuff and and I'm not going to lie, like it's reality. People go through this stuff and you're not by yourself. You're not alone. Talk to a therapist, get a therapist. And I will say this, and I was fascinated by this weekend. Oprah Winfrey had a webinar and she's doing this series about like how to live your best life during this pandemic. And I signed up for it and she had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on it and he talked about his therapist. And the fact that The Rock sees a therapist shows you that there's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. It does not make you weaker. There is no stigma about seeing a therapist. It's actually, I won't lie, I think it's like the cool thing to do in 2020. Like, get a therapist. And there's so many online that are pretty cheap, or you can even get a free one through your work maybe. Check with your health insurance company and highly recommend one. I see one and it's just been great. Like we've been working through things and we've been talking about stuff and it's actually been a really good time to see a therapist because our topics are not work focused right now. They're actually about like things outside of work, which has been great because we never get time to talk about that stuff. So I leave you with that stuff today. I leave you with don't fear rejection. Work on your craft. And if you don't work on your craft, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Talk to somebody about what's happening and what's going on with you. And then 4, just really make sure you're taking care of yourself, right? This is especially right now. Make sure, Oprah said this. I want to actually leave you with this. Oprah said at the end of her session this weekend, she says, we can't control COVID, right? We can't control what's happening with coronavirus, but we can control our thoughts, right? So free yourself from those negative thoughts. You can control the thoughts. You can't control what's happening around you, but you can control what's in your mind. So free yourself of those thoughts. So with that, I want to introduce this episode with Tina Mabry. Like I said, she's a writer, producer, and director. You've seen her with Queen Sugar. You've seen her on Insecure. You've seen her with Posse. And she talks about rejection. And she talks about how she grinded for years and years and years. And she took so much rejection, but she didn't let it get to her. She didn't start to resent people. She didn't start to hate people. She didn't resent herself. She didn't resent the industry. She just kept chugging along until Ava DuVernay said yes to her. And then the rest is history. She's now one of the most sought out creatives in Hollywood right now. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started.